started the company to solve our own problem. And I think that's something that cannot be stressed enough, because a lot of innovation in this space is just solutions looking for a problem.
The origination and the development of Ledn came out through conversations that I had with Mauricio about the different experiences we had growing up with money.
I'm from Venezuela, and the way I got into Bitcoin was not because I found it, but my family found it first. So in my lifetime, there's been 14 zeros wiped out of my currency. That's the number of zeros in a trillion. All of my friends were leaving the country and with really depressed faces, except for my brother. I went to ask him what he was doing with a lot of skepticism. He says, I'm mining Bitcoin. I asked him to show me. He made me give him my address to get some money into my bank account. Money hits my bank account. In the context of not being able to buy dollars, non-perishables, nothing. And at that point, when I saw how Bitcoin could transact in that hostile of an environment, that's when all the light bulbs went off.
When Mauricio and I first decided to set up a Bitcoin mine in Canada, at that time, the only choice we had was to sell Bitcoin and convert it to dollars to be able to pay these mining expenses. Banks didn't even have comfort in servicing basic bank account services for Bitcoin, let alone offering a loan. So a situation where there was not enough capital that wanted to invest in Bitcoin mining, and lots of people that wanted to hold Bitcoin. And so the idea of financing a Bitcoin mining operation was pretty interesting. We iterated a lot through many conversations and launched Canada's first Bitcoin-backed loan in 2018. And then through that realized that we had something that, again, Bitcoin is a global asset. So why were we limiting it to Canada? There were people in other regions of the world who it was equally or arguably far more useful for. And then we didn't need to limit it to mining.
Because of our experiences, our collective experiences, the conviction in what we do is unshakable. Because there's so much of an immigrant base within Ledn, we all had to escape the consequences of broken money. I think that if you combine all of these things together, you get to this unshakable force, which is, I think, the fire that essentially burns why we want to do this so badly. Where I think Ledn plays a very key role is by connecting your digital assets into your real world experience and making that digital asset enhance your day-to-day life. Wanting to buy a house, wanting to buy a car, wanting to pay for groceries. The more we can bridge your digital wealth and convert that into a real life experience or an enhancement to your day-to-day, that's where I think we're gonna want to play.
What it means to me is helping as many people as we can and equalizing financial services across the world.
Awesome. Well, hello, everyone. Welcome to the third Ledn Check-in. We do this every couple of months. It's an opportunity for us to connect with our community and answer the questions that are on our clients' minds. So thank you so much for all of the great questions. I'm pleased to be joined by the two guys who started it all, Mauricio and Adam. Hey, guys. How are you?
Doing great, Andrew. How's it going?
Hola.
Awesome. So the run of show is going to be pretty straightforward. So today we're going to start off with some opening remarks from Adam and Mao, and then we're going to hop into the pre-submitted questions. And if we have time, we'll go to a live Q&A. I want to remind everyone that you can submit a question at any time in the comments section, and we take questions in both Spanish and English. We're going to run this for about 30 to 45 minutes, and we're hopefully going to have enough time to get to all of the questions. So let's just get right into it. I think it's been a busy couple of months since our last Ledn Check-in. Lots of new product announcements with the launch of our DCNs, as well as the new transition from our savings to our growth accounts. Adam, why don't you get it started by walking through the product strategy, and then maybe you and Mao can talk about some of these exciting new products we've launched.
Sure, of course, would love to. Thanks again, everyone, for joining us. January of this year, we set out on really a mission to reinvigorate our product suite on two key themes. We heard loud and clear from our clients that they wanted more control with their assets and more information via more transparency from Ledn. So everything we've been working on this year reflects exactly those two themes. What Andrew just mentioned on our Ledn growth accounts, this is the transition of what we previously called savings. And we're launching the first one, Bitcoin growth account, next week. And I'll get into some key details later on, because there's some great questions that came about regarding the Ledn growth accounts. But the key thing here again is control and making sure clients have more transparency, and then learning from what happened in this sector over the last 24 months. So obviously we've been at the forefront of it. There's always ways to get better, and we've been innovating on that exactly in how we think about the growth account. The other piece is adding more control, and this is shown in our the loan auto rebalancing that we've added. So now when you take a Ledn loan, we make it far easier to adjust to the collateral that you have. So if the price of Bitcoin is increased since you've taken the loan, you can benefit from that, and you can either withdraw that Bitcoin to cold storage, maybe do as you would with it, keep it safe, or you can also use it to access other different types of Ledn's products. Maybe the DCN that Mauricio may want to talk about next.
Yeah, happy to talk about that. And it's I find that so awesome when I see people using the rebalance feature, because the price has appreciated since the time they took the loan and they get to bring Bitcoin back. So a lot of people are using it. It's been really, really great to see. And a lot of people are using our DCNs as well, some with those balances, some coming in just to try the DCNs. But I'd love to talk briefly just about the DCNs and what it is. And the DCN is a new product or a new tool that helps you build wealth at Ledn. It lets you earn a higher yield than what we pay in the savings accounts, soon to be growth accounts. And the way the product works is it works in pairs. So you can choose either your Bitcoin to dollar pair, in which case you will be trying to sell Bitcoin for dollars at a higher price than it is today at a date in the future, or you could use your dollars to Bitcoin pair, in which case you will be looking to buy Bitcoin at a lower price than where Bitcoin is today in the future. So how it works is, if you start with Bitcoin, you would pick a price in the future, or a price at which you would be happy selling that Bitcoin. You would pick the date at which you would be happy selling the Bitcoin, and you would basically then lock in or commit that Bitcoin for that period of time. And you will be in exchange for effectively committing to that, you will be getting a yield or a payout. And depending on where the price of Bitcoin is at the time that you select it, if it is at or above the price, you will be getting back dollars instead of Bitcoin. If the price is below the price that you selected, you basically keep your Bitcoin plus the yield payout that you get through the DCN, and basically vice versa for the dollar side of things. Now, the risks on this product are a little bit different than on the savings account. Of course, there is the probability that you may get a different asset back. If you start with Bitcoin, you may get dollars back. If you start with dollars, you may get Bitcoin back. And importantly, you do have to hold the asset in the DCN for the period that you select. You cannot effectively take it out of the DCN like you can in the growth accounts or the savings accounts during normal operating conditions. That's in a nutshell. I think we do have some questions that we're going to get into later on about more nitty-gritty details on it. But it's a product that I'm very excited about, and yeah, I look forward to seeing more people use it. So we can probably jump into the Q&A now.
Yeah, let's get right into it. So the first one is about USDC. So USDC circulation is shrinking. Would you consider adding USDT? Adam, do you want to take this one?
Sure. Yeah. So we definitely pay close attention to the circulating market cap of all of the coins. And as many of our clients can appreciate, Ledn's been very thoughtful about what coins to add to the platform. And we've been very tight to date. We only support Bitcoin and USDC today. But we've listened and we followed that. And we're happy to announce that actually starting in September, we'll be supporting USDT, Tether on the platform in select markets. And that is through the first product edition, which is in the growth accounts. So we're launching the Bitcoin growth account next month in August, and then we'll be launching both the USDC and USDT growth account in September. So very excited to have that addition. Definitely know clients, especially in LATAM, the circulation of Tether and the popularity of Tether is far more than USDC. So really excited to grow with that asset.
Awesome. Yeah, it's so funny that we really do listen to the client feedback. That loan rebalancing feature that you talked about, that's a direct result of probably a client question that we got at a Ledn Check-in. And so it's great that we're able to break some product news at these things, which is fantastic. Now, I did mention we'd take questions in both Spanish and English. So, Mao, I'm going to let you take the next one. And I'm not even going to try to pronounce it. So do your thing.
So I'll do this whole the question and the answer in Spanish first, and then I'll go back to English. So en español la pregunta es ¿cuándo se podrá fondear USDC con la red de Polygon? La respuesta de esto es, obviamente, el enfoque de nosotros este año ha sido traer productos nuevos al mercado. Esto lo pueden ver con nuestras NDC o DCNs en inglés. También lo pueden ver con los growth accounts y los productos que Adam anunció, como que se viene Tether y un par más que no puedo compartir exactamente todavía muchos detalles, pero el equipo está básicamente trabajando a toda máquina para lanzar estos productos en lo que queda de año. Sí entendemos que las transacciones en la red de Ethereum se han vuelto más caras, especialmente durante tiempos de congestión, y siempre nuestro trabajo obviamente es bajar la fricción para que los clientes puedan interactuar con la plataforma. Sí nos ha llegado el feedback de que sería bueno tener otras redes para poder hacer transacciones con USDC, y aunque no es algo que podamos, que no estamos trabajando directamente este año, es algo que sí vamos a evaluar el año que viene. I'm going to pass over to English now. So the question in English is, when will you be able to fund USDC on the Polygon network with basically the Polygon network layer 2 for Ethereum? And the answer, as I just said in Spanish, this year our focus has been to bring new products to the market. And as you've seen with our DCNs as well as the growth accounts, that's been the push. And we have Tether and other things coming, some of which I can't share too many details, but effectively our team is full steam ahead to bring these new products to the market for the remaining of the year. Now, we do understand that transacting on the Ethereum layer 1 has become pricey, especially during times of congestion. And we have gotten the feedback for clients that they would like to have options to come to the platform and interact with Ledn on layer 2s that are much more cost efficient. Now, as I mentioned, it's not something that we're working on immediately this year, but it's something that we may look to do in the next year as a feedback. This feedback is very important. So, we're always monitoring this and trying to bring friction down on the platform so that it's easy for everybody.
Great answer, both in Spanish and English. The next question is for you as well. So why do DCNs offer double-digit yield? Does it mean that there's more risk involved in our 9% savings, soon-to-be growth account?
Yes, so it's a good question. And just to clarify, the growth accounts and the DCNs are two very different products. The yield on the DCNs does not come from the lending markets. The yield on the DCNs are related to the value or the price that another investor or market participant is willing to pay to take the other side of that DCN. And I'll explain. If you're a person that has Bitcoin and is saying that you're willing to sell that Bitcoin at a set price in the future, and you commit and you show that you have that Bitcoin, that commitment presents a lot of value to somebody on the other side of the trade. And you can think of a person that has borrowed a Bitcoin, that has to pay it back, and that needs to have certainty on the dollar price that they are going to pay for that Bitcoin at a point in the future. So basically, that person has a financial incentive to effectively pay you for that commitment. And that is, in fact, where the yield comes from. The opposite is also true. When you have when you have dollars and you are a willing buyer of Bitcoin at a lower price, that has a financial incentive for somebody that bought Bitcoin maybe at a higher price and wants to have certainty that they will be able to sell it at least at a fixed dollar price in the future. So again, that's where the pay or the yield on the DCNs come from, which is very different than what we do on the growth accounts, which is just lending the assets. Now, depending on how likely the market believes that outcome is to be reached, so how likely the market believes that your Bitcoin will be sold, or how likely it is that you'll have to buy the Bitcoin with dollars, that is in many ways what drives the yield that you see on DCNs. And you can see that the yield on the DCNs can vary as the market becomes more volatile. And that is because, again, it's all probability and scenario outcome based, and that's where the calculations for the yield come from. Now, another key difference between the two products is that when you are using a DCN, once you commit, you have to hold the asset in the DCN until maturity. And in the growth accounts, during normal operating conditions, you should be able to deposit and withdraw at any time. So there's important distinctions in the two products. And again, the source of the yield is different in both.
Great, thanks, Mal. Last one, and then we'll let you grab a drink of water for a bit. So this is another Spanish one.
¿Tienen pensado bajar el mínimo para las NDC a horas de 3,400? So I'll do this in Spanish first. ¿Tienen pensado bajar el mínimo para las NDC a horas de $3,400? Para dar el contexto, obviamente nosotros siempre estamos trabajando para que los productos que ofrecemos sean lo más accesibles posibles. Para las personas que quizás no tienen este contexto, las NDC o las DCNs arrancaron hace un año y eran ofrecidas solamente a inversionistas calificados y los mínimos eran de $50,000. Obviamente, esto que estamos haciendo ahora de traer las DCNs o las NDCs a la plataforma directamente donde todos pueden accederla y hemos reducido los mínimos de $50,000 a 3,400, ya de por sí es una mejora material a la accesibilidad del producto. Nosotros los mínimos que tenemos están en pie para asegurarnos que siempre vamos a poder conseguir un contraparte para la orden de nuestros clientes y mientras el producto madura y evoluciona, vamos a probablemente mirar para tratar de proponer o dar opciones para que los mínimos sean cada vez menores. Pero esto es algo que va a pasar con el tiempo y no tenemos, digamos, planes inmediatos de bajar este mínimo. Let's do that in English. So are you thinking of lowering the minimum amount for DCNs? Right now is $3,400. As I mentioned, so obviously our intent and our interest is to make our products as accessible as possible. And to give people some context, when DCNs first launched, which we started offering them to qualified investors last year, they were only available to qualified investors and the minimum amount was $50,000. So if you fast forward till today, the DCNs are now on the platform and the minimums are $3,400. So that in itself is already a material improvement in terms of accessibility. And the minimums that are in place today are to ensure that we're able to match our clients' requests or orders with another participant in the market. As the product evolves and matures, of course, we're going to look to make it even more accessible and hopefully lower those minimums. It's not something that we're planning on immediately or imminently, but again, over time, we'll look to continue making the products more accessible.
Definitely. That's always our goal, is to make our products as accessible as possible. It just sometimes takes time as adoption ramps and people start to use it, where costs are able to come down. So great. Adam, the next one's for you, and I think it's about our new growth account. So it sounds like it's safer now because if Ledn goes bankrupt, your growth account won't be impacted. But if the counterparty goes bankrupt, then you will be impacted. No? How is this safer?
Of course. So yeah, I want to be super clear with all of our clients about how this works. And it really comes out of the learnings that happened over the last 24 months about what to do and what not to do when it comes to generating yield and providing these types of accounts for clients. And so what we really wanted to address was three different things. So one, we wanted to reduce binary outcomes. I'll obviously elaborate in a second. Two, we wanted to make sure clients had far more information about how the yield is generated and how the interest is paid on client assets. And then third is giving more control. So with information, you can then decide how you want to move in and out of the accounts. And we think we've done a really good job of addressing those three things with the growth accounts. And so the first is binary outcomes. So as we've all seen with the different bankruptcies that have happened in the market, what happened was, regardless of what type of product the client was participating in, everything kind of got rolled all together in this massive mess of a bankruptcy overall. So what we wanted to be crystal clear on is what risk you were and were not taking by participating in the product. And what we've done with the growth accounts is we've really ring fenced it. So this is actually true technically. The assets for the growth account are held in separate accounts and then managed separately, and then also done legally. The actual legal entity that you're facing and participating in when you agree to deposit into a Ledn growth account is separate as well. So what that means is, in the unlikely event of a Ledn corporate bankruptcy, those growth account assets are unaffected. Now, the question is correct in saying, well, what happens if one of the borrowers from that group of assets goes bankrupt? And in that event, what we want to do is not say and over-exaggerate that can never happen. Of course, there is events where that can happen. What we want to be really clear on is what happens if it does, and how are client assets treated. And what we tried to do is address the fact that in that scenario, not all of the client asset pool is necessarily affected, but there may be a portion that is. So I'll actually run through a live example because, again, I want to be really clear about how it works so clients can decide if it's the right account for them. So let's say there's 100 different clients in that Ledn growth account, and each has 1 unit of maybe 1 Bitcoin. So there's 100 Bitcoin in the client account and in the Ledn growth account, and then 10% of that growth account is lent to one counterparty. In the event that that counterparty does go defunct or for whatever reason cannot repay that loan, 10% of the entire pool would be affected, but the 90%, again, assuming no follow-on effects, is okay. So what the benefit of this account is what we can do is we can segregate those two activities and we can return the 90% of those assets that are not impaired while dealing with the 10% that are impaired separately. So no longer does the entire Ledn entity and all of those and then get commingled. We've separated out to be really clear. And with that, of course, you need more information. You need to know what's happening with the growth account, what types of loans are going through. And that's where the open book report comes in. So with the open book report, you can see the collateralization. We're also working on improving it so you can see the different types of loans that we're lending as well. And there'll be more iterations. And again, we want way more feedback on this of how we're improving that transparency. And then finally, the piece about control. So previously we had one client savings account, and that was kind of the home base for all of your assets outside of participating in the loans or the new DCN activity. What we've done now is we created a Ledn transaction account and a Ledn growth account for each asset. So if you don't want to earn yield because you're not comfortable with the lending risk, you can just participate in the Ledn transaction account and still have the flexibility to move into the other products. Or if you're in the Ledn growth account, maybe you don't want all of your assets in, maybe you want to segregate according to your own preferences, that flexibility exists as well. So again, what we're trying to do with all of this is provide more tools to clients, more information to clients so they can make their own choices with their assets on how to manage them. And again, we'd love to get more and more feedback about this. It's one of the biggest launches that Ledn's been working on for many months, and the first one's coming out next month with the Ledn Bitcoin growth account.
Awesome. Thanks a lot, Adam. Just going off of that, this person is asking, where is my money more safe, in the growth or in the transaction account? I'd like to hear an honest answer based also on probabilities of what is best for the customer. Mao, do you want to take this? Oh, let me just unmute you here, Mao.
That was me. I got, yeah. Gotcha. So sorry. I think that the previous answer from Adam was a great setup for this question. So as Adam mentioned, the transaction account and the growth account are separate and distinct products, and they both have different benefits and they each have different risks. So to Adam's point, I'm happy to elaborate on what are the sort of value props for each of them so that a client, you watching, can decide which one's the right one for you. So the transaction account, as Adam just mentioned, is an account that is intended to basically be like your everyday account. You can think of it kind of like you think of a checking account. The assets for that account are primarily held in cold storage. And thanks to now the new growth account structure, any assets that are held on the transaction accounts are now ring-fenced from any risks from our lending operations on the growth accounts. So, basically the trade-off is that balance does not earn any interest. So that is what the transaction account is in a nutshell. Then if you look at the growth account is different in the sense that once you move or deposit into the growth account, you are then transacting with this new account that is ring-fenced from all other Ledn risks, and your risks then become the loans that are being issued with the assets that are in the growth account. So in the growth account, you're only exposed to the risks of the loans issued from the loan account or from any of those institutional counterparties having any issues. That is your risk profile on the growth account. If something happens to Ledn, and if for whatever reason, in the unlikely event of a Ledn bankruptcy, your growth account assets would not be impacted. Now, conversely, in the transaction account, if there were any issues in the institutional loans that are issued through the growth account, your assets would not be impacted. So really the intention is to completely ring fence, as best as we can, both of the products so that they have different risk rewards or basically trade-offs. And then again, give more control to the client, because now you will be able to choose whether you want to earn interest and not be exposed to the lending activity, or whether you want to, do want to earn interest and you're going to be exposed to the risks and benefits from the growth account. I hope that answers the question clearly, but I think we may get more questions on that later on the growth account. Oh, then we got Andrew frozen.
Yeah. Oh, good.
Let's see. See if he's back.
You back?
Okay. I think the next question is, oh. Hey, am I back? All right.
You are.
I'm having some internet issues. Not an ideal time. Next question for you. Are all customers treated equally in terms of quality of borrowers? Some of your loans are not collateralized. Which of your clients will take on this counter?
Yeah, I can take that one because it follows up on the explanation that I was given on the Ledn growth account. So as I was explaining on the $100 account size, if there is 100 participants and each one participated with $1 or 100 units, say, let's use Bitcoin, of course, because we're talking about the Bitcoin growth account first. So each client deposits 1 Bitcoin, there's 100 Bitcoin in the account. And from there, 10% is impacted. Those amounts are distributed equally, and any potential impairment is distributed equally and proportionally by the amount that's held in the account per client. So every client is treated equally in proportion to the amount of assets that they hold in such account. So we think that's the fairest way to do it. Obviously, we hope that these events never happen. And the other thing I want to stress on is none of this in the client accounts sacrifices anything that we've done within our credit policies. So all of the loans that we're making, there's still very formal underwriting processes, very formal credit due diligence processes that we would never sacrifice on. All we want to do is think through that in the event that the worst happens, we have a process to deal with it. So that's really the innovation and thought that we put into this. But we will never kind of take a step back from anything that we've done previously, and we'll continue to manage things in a very prudent manner.
Hey guys, I'm back.
All right.
Hopefully you guys saw that we are indeed live, and so we are not immune from technical issues. I'm guessing you guys went through this question on the screen. Is that correct?
That's right.
Awesome.
Yeah, it was actually
Great.
okay timing because I just went through the question. And now our
Perfect.
Q&A is back.
Perfect. So the next question is about what do you use as collateral both for USDC retail and institutional loans?
Yeah, so I was mentioning
Adam, do you want to take this one?
Sure. Yeah, I can take on that. So I was mentioning our credit risk management policy and something that we've obviously always keeping up to date and thinking through. So the only acceptable collateral that we take today for retail, it's currently only Bitcoin. So that's our Bitcoin-backed loans. All of our retail loans are over collateralized. As clients can appreciate, when they apply for a loan, it's 2-to-1. So we lend $1 USD against $2 of Bitcoin collateral. And then on the institutional side, the only collateral that we accept is Bitcoin, ETH, USD, USDC, USDT. And then the only other additional collateral would be real estate to facilitate our Bitcoin mortgages, which would be a retail or high net worth product. All other collateral types have to be approved by our credit risk committee and can report today that we don't have any other collateral types on the Ledn platform. The other important thing is if we ever were to accept any other types of collateral, the discounting on that is extremely important. So looking at any types of liquidity, market value of that, and what happens is if there's a crunch period, the liquidity becomes exemplary important. So it's very important to think through this and very important question.
Great. We've got another Spanish one here for you, Mauricio.
Seguridad y o compensación por hackeo o quiebra en mi país, España, se cubre inversión. Bueno, vamos a hacer sorry, I'll go in Spanish first and then come back. La pregunta dice seguridad y compensación por hackeo o quiebra. Para responder esta pregunta, en la industria de créditos en activos digitales no existen pólizas de seguro, no existen programas gubernamentales que aseguren ningún tipo de estas actividades. Esto es algo que en Ledn siempre hemos sido muy transparentes y de frente con nuestros clientes, y es algo que algunos de los competidores que ahora no existen representaban mal muchas veces para tratar de crear la falsa idea de que no habían riesgos en estas operaciones. Nosotros siempre hemos sido muy transparentes con que, de nuevo, no hay póliza de seguro que cubra estas actividades de crédito con activos digitales en la industria, no existe. Estas nuevas cuentas de crecimiento que acabamos de mencionar en la llamada, que va a ser la nueva estructura mediante la cual ofrecemos servicios de interés en tanto dólares como en Bitcoin, están removidas o están aisladas del riesgo de bancarrota de Ledn. ¿Qué quiere decir esto? Que un cliente que esté participando con sus activos en la cuenta de crecimiento no se vería impactado si hubiese una quiebra de Ledn, una quiebra improbable de Ledn a nivel corporativo. Esto no impactaría los activos que el cliente tiene en la cuenta de crecimiento y estos activos pudieran ser retirados por los clientes. Por ende, esto es un cambio muy importante y creo positivo para la experiencia, y esto es una de las grandes razones por la cual hicimos este cambio. So I'll do it in English now. The translation of the answer is there any insurance or compensation for hack or bankruptcy? In my country, Spain, and then I can't really make up the others, but basically I'll answer it as, is there any insurance or compensation in the event of hack or bankruptcy? So as I mentioned in Spanish, we've always been very transparent and upfront that there is no insurance policy for lending activities around digital assets. There's no insurance coverage. There's no government program that insures deposits in any way. This is something that does not exist in this industry. This is something we've always been very upfront with. Some of the now defunct competitors would say certain things in the past to create a false sense that there were no risks. That's something that we never did, and we've always been upfront that there is no insurance coverage for any kind of lending activities around Bitcoin or digital assets. Now, with this new change to the growth accounts, as Adam just mentioned and explained pretty well, the growth accounts are going to be ring-fenced from Ledn bankruptcy risk. What that means is that if you have assets in a growth account and there's no impairments in the growth account, but for some unforeseen reason, Ledn were to go bankrupt, the assets in the growth account would not be impaired and they could be withdrawn. Now, again, that is just, we believe that's a material improvement to the risk structure of the account itself. And it's something, or it's one of the big reasons why we did it. And so it's important that clients understand the distinctions and also understand that there is no sort of insurance policy or government program that insures these activities. That's why it's so important to have these legal structures and products ring-fenced as best as we can.
Great. Thanks, Mal. This one is also about risk. So is Unchained dollar loans less risky than Ledn dollar loans? There's no rehypothecation. Adam, do you want to take this one?
Sure. Yeah, and definitely want to first say, I think, we've gotten to know the Unchained team well, and I think we welcome innovation and different types of products in the market, and appreciate all they're doing to improve the space as well. But I think that the short answer is, and I'll elaborate, is they are different products, and we think there's a use case for both. With Ledn's products, our interest rate is lower. This is from publicly available information, so obviously check and do your own research with Unchained directly. But their posted rate for a 50% collateralized loan at or LTV loan for a 1-year term is 16.66% APR, and Ledn's is 13.9% APR. The reason for that is we're accessing different dollars. The majority of Ledn's supply side for our dollars does come from our USDC accounts today, so our USDC savings account, soon to be USDC growth account. But when, to the extent that we're short dollars in that account, we do borrow dollars from the institutional market. And to borrow those dollars, we typically need to over collateralize those institutional loans with Bitcoin. And so this allows us to access a different source of Bitcoin. In addition to that, we do have the right to relend Bitcoin, which helps us lower the cost of those loans. So again, we'll always be upfront with what we're doing with Bitcoin. And there's a reason for that in the difference of the rate. There's also a difference in accessibility. Our loans start as low as $500 US. I believe, again, from publicly posted information, the Unchained loans start at 10,000 US. So there's a bit more flexibility in size. And the third difference would be interest rate. So I believe with the Unchained loans that you pay interest monthly. With the Ledn loans, we accrue interest, but it's flexible on when you pay it. The interest is due at the end of the term of the loan. So a bit more flexibility on how to use the loan.
Great, thanks, Adam. And last one for our pre-submitted questions. So would love a status update on your plan to bring earn or yield services back to Canadians.
Sure, I can take that one, Andrew. So I think there's two things. There's the regulatory framework that the product has to fit into, and then there's the innovation that Ledn is working on the product side. And I think the way to simplify it right now is you have to have a good overlap of those things. Obviously, we want to offer the right product that we feel would be valuable to our clients, but it has to fit into the regulatory framework to make sure that it's compliant. And today in Canada, the regulatory framework that would allow for a product that we like doesn't match up, in that we like to offer a product that you can earn yield on physical Bitcoin, meaning that you wouldn't have to convert or sell your Bitcoin into something different. A product that we could do in Canada with some additional work that we've obviously been thinking through would be more of a paper-based yield product, where clients would effectively have to sell their Bitcoin and purchase units of a traditional securities product. I think the short answer of that is it wouldn't be as seamless as the savings, future growth accounts are, and that you wouldn't be able to transfer and send and receive native Bitcoin like you can today. And the second piece is it may not provide the same tax planning that the current savings future growth accounts allow for. So I think we wanted that to match up. We never want to launch a product that we think would provide a subpar client experience. We're working hard on it, but the world's a big place. And as you can appreciate, we're trying to offer our products to as many people as we can globally. And that may mean some trade-offs in certain markets as we look to do exactly that.
Great, thanks, Adam. So that was it for our pre-submitted questions, but we do have one question in the comments from Mark. I'll pull this up, and maybe Mal, do you want to take this one?
Yes, happy to. So Mark's question is, I was wondering if the money for transactions with DCNs will come from the transactional account or from the growth accounts. And I think this is an important question, because up until this change, our savings accounts had been the kind of home base for all other Ledn products. And after this change, your transaction account will become your home base for all of the Ledn products. So if you want to access a DCN, you will take balances from your transaction account. If you want to top up a loan, you would take balances from your transaction account. The growth account will be a separate and distinct account that you will have to deposit and withdraw from to have the assets available for a transaction. That's what also informs the names of the two accounts, so that the transaction account is where your assets are going to be basically ready to enter into any other product. When they are in the growth account, that's what they are. You will have to submit a withdrawal and wait for them to basically move back to the transaction account.
Awesome. Looks like we answered the question to Mark's satisfaction. So glad we could do that, and thank you very much for the live question, Mark. So that is it from a questions perspective. Adam, Mao, do you guys want to do some closing thoughts? Maybe Adam, would love to hear from you.
Sure. Again, thank everyone for tuning in today. As you can tell by the items we've mentioned, we've got a lot of new products and features shipping over the next 3 months. So again, that's Bitcoin growth accounts in August, USDC and Tether support for the growth account in September. And then I won't spoil the surprise yet, but we've got some new products dropping in October as well. So excited for all of that. I want to thank our team who's been hard at work behind the scenes here, building and making sure that the products are as accessible and easy to use as possible. But we're not perfect. Would love all of our clients' feedback. You can always reach us on Twitter DMs or support@ledn.io for any questions or feedback you have.
Awesome.
Now, you want to say anything?
Yeah. So kind of on the back of that, yes, we acknowledge we've launched a bunch of new products, and these products, are new in many ways. DCN is a pretty new product. NDCs is something that a lot of our clients, especially in Latin America and other parts of the world, are not necessarily too familiar with. So with new products comes new resources to teach you how to use those products best. And you can expect a lot more information and educational content from us around these products. All of these questions are very helpful because it illuminates what we need to sort of explain more or give more details on. So please keep them coming. You can come to us on Twitter or at support. And if there's anything in particular you want to see, you can also comment in we have videos and educational videos on YouTube as well. Feel free to throw your comments there. We read all of them. And expect a lot more how-to or educational videos from us for our new products so you can all become power users.
Great. Thanks, Mal. Thanks, Adam. Appreciate you guys' time. I know it's a very, very busy time here at Ledn. I thought it was great about how you talked about the founders letter that you guys put out at the beginning of January that really talked about rebuilding the category around transparency and client control. And I think these bi-monthly check-ins are a perfect example of this commitment to transparency. But you certainly don't have to wait every 2 months to ask us a question. As the guys mentioned, support at ledn.io is available 24/7, and certainly encourage you to use that. And thank you everyone for tuning in, and we'll chat to you guys really, really soon. Thanks everyone.
Thanks a lot.
Ciao.
Just because Bitcoin never sleeps doesn't mean you don't have to. Introducing Ledn's Dual Cryptocurrency Note, or DCN. With Ledn's DCN, you can enjoy the benefits of high, fixed-term interest rates on your Bitcoin or USD, while getting the flexibility to sell high or buy low in the future at predetermined target prices, allowing you to maximize your potential gains. Experience the excitement and potential rewards of DCN in your trading journey. Taking a DCN with Ledn is simple. 1. Select your pair by choosing to either sell high, Bitcoin to USD, or buy low, USD to Bitcoin. 2. Subscribe to your preferred maturity date and DCN terms. 3. Review and place your DCN order. 4. Enjoy your high return and peace of mind. How does Ledn's DCN work? Well, let's take Pedro as an example. A sell high DCN, or a Bitcoin to USD pair, allows him to sell his Bitcoin for a higher price than the current price of 25,000 USD. He used his 1 Bitcoin to subscribe to Ledn's DCN with the strike price of 30,000 USD and 14-day term. This is the price at which he'd be happy to sell his Bitcoin for at maturity. For this DCN, he's going to receive a 15% APR, which is over 5 times the return he could expect in his Bitcoin savings account, and spend less time checking for peak rates. Let's look at the 2 potential scenarios that can happen on the maturity date. Scenario 1. If the Bitcoin price at maturity is equal to or lower than the strike price, the sell transaction doesn't happen. Pedro keeps his Bitcoin and receives a term return, also in Bitcoin. Scenario 2. If the Bitcoin price at maturity is higher than the strike price, Pedro's Bitcoin is sold at the strike price and he receives USD. He also receives his term return in Bitcoin. A buy low DCN, or a USD to Bitcoin pair, works the same way and allows Pedro to purchase Bitcoin using his USD at a future price which he's happy with. So, how do our scenarios play out in this situation? Scenario 1. If the Bitcoin price at maturity is lower than the strike price, Pedro buys the Bitcoin at the strike price and collects his term return in USD. Scenario 2. The Bitcoin price at maturity is equal to or higher than the strike price. Pedro doesn't buy the Bitcoin and receives his USD back. He gets to keep his term return as well. By picking future Bitcoin prices at which you'd be happy to sell or buy Bitcoin, you can automate your outlook and either sell at a higher price or buy at a lower price. Regardless of the outcome, you'll earn a higher interest than your Ledn savings account and get on your way to building passive income. So, stop losing sleep. and start building your wealth. Create your Ledn account at ledn.io.